street go.
Oh yeah yeah, Mayegun don come. Oh yeah yeah.
This one not dey off in mind.
Oh yeah yeah, Mayegun don come. Oh yeah yeah.
Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that Mayegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Mayegun diary, he dey hot like pepper. But every day, then they take money in bulk. Woman picking, they the street they hawk. Still them talk say, make we no talk. But thank God say, Mayegun don't come. So my people make you laugh.
Oh yeah yeah, Mayegun don come. Oh yeah yeah.
And people make you shout.
Oh yeah yeah, Mayegun don come. Oh yeah yeah.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀, làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀, làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Mayegun ti dé o, ọ̀rẹ́ ará yìí.
Hello there.
Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Bó bá ṣe eré, àní Mayegun máa wí.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Ó sì tún ṣe eré, wàá gbọ́ níbẹ̀ o.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Mayegun diary political.
Sorry about that. That's my studio sound. Anyway, yes. Thank you so much for joining me from wherever you are watching from. Please share this broadcast. Invite your friends. Invite your not so friendly friends. Tell them, Mayegun today. I have something for you just before we get fully into this. I feel like I should say that.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Yes.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Mayegun ti dé. Mayegun ti dé.
Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Mayegun ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Mayegun ti dé.
Lórí Facebook.
Lórí YouTube, Mayegun today. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to say some few words. Yeah, few words. Just before we get fully. First, I want to say thank you to every one of you, especially those of you who recently joined Mayegun's Diary Political, either by recommendation or just by accident. Now you are here. Now, let me tell you this before we get fully into it. Like I said, there is one thing that the criminals ruling Nigeria, there is one very kind of potent weapon that they normally use. And that weapon is fear. First, when you call them criminals, they will tell you which court convicted them. Oh, defamation. Oh, you are trying to ruin our reputation. Oh, you are trying to spoil our name, and every other thing they say. Because the system in Nigeria is a criminal system, and there are those who put them there, who put it there. The criminal system in Nigeria doesn't punish criminals. It rewards them. Now, in this day and time, the, what do you call it? Using fear, intimidation, threats, and what else? Including even like death, to try to shut people up so that, I mean, they will be scared for their lives or their own liberty when criminals are those in power using that same instrument of government to hunt down those they call their critic, kind of. Now, to make it clearer to every one of you watching me, I am talking about myself now. I understood this very well. And that is why, for somebody like myself who is very much far away from them, I kind of enjoy some level of advantage, which means they, instead of them using the same criminal system to shut people like us up, right? They probably use blackmail and every other things to kind of, discredit people like us. But in this day and time, with the availability of information and how quick information actually spread, it has become obvious that using the instrument of fear, intimidation, violence, and every other thing associated with Nigeria and the criminals in Nigeria will no longer stop people from really exposing them and, in fact, standing by those expose. See, your rulers in Nigeria, your governors, your senators, your civil servants who are those in charge of running the government, your lawmakers, senators, and the rest of them. If you pick them from from A to Z, more than 99% of them are either past criminals, right, or ex-convicts, or any kind of crime that shouldn't even have allowed them to even near anywhere called their government, if there is actually a system that scrutinizes them. Now, because criminals have taken over Nigeria, especially now, so the the instrument of fear of trying to shut people up will no longer work, or doesn't really work anymore. Now, to make you understand very well, especially those of you who kind of still live under that fear, what you just said right now, are you sure? Do you have evidence? Do you this and that? All of these are coming from the conditioning that they have put a lot of us in, which is, what if they come for me now? What if this or that? Nobody is coming for you because they are criminals and there are evidence, Boku, that they have not been, they are not currently in jail. Is not the fault of, it's not the fault of anybody, but the fault of those of you in Nigeria who have found a way to love your criminals differently. Your president, Ebola Tinubu, was an heroin trafficker. He was an accountant. They call him a bagman for drug dealers in America. You see that one, Illegitimate, that is picture featured just now, right? That one was an ex-convict for credit card fraud, wire fraud in that same America. The difference between Eleyi and Tinubu is that the moment Tinubu got the hint that they were looking for him, he ran away from America back to Nigeria. And when he got to Nigeria, he joined politics straight away. That's what happened. Eleyi back then was younger and he was caught red-handed. He had a mug shot of him. I don't know how many of you have seen that. I used to have that on my screen here, but I'll look for it. And when you look at all of those who are parading themselves as whether your governor or your senator or this or that, you will realize that a lot of them are a bunch of criminals, but you have no gumption to actually say that to them because you don't want to be charged with libel. The young man that released that mock shot of dubious Dapo in Ogun State, the Ogun State governor, the young man that released that mock shot, a blogger, like a journalist, kind of, the guy spent more than almost a year in detention. Nigerian police arrested him. They locked him up for releasing the mock shot of the criminal record of Illegitimate. Now, I can give you other instances, but even if you don't go far, okay, there are already existing evidence of the crimes and the criminality of these guys, including that of Tinubu, established facts. So when they started the deceitful campaign for using religion at the time, I was wondering, like those who felt like they were defending Islam with Muslim ticket of this fraud, I was like, were they thinking that they were defending the drug dealer, by the way? Did they know that? I mean, Did they accept drug, or what do you call it, druggies and the rest of them as a norm in Islam? But we know it wasn't about Islam or Christianity or anything. It is about leveraging on what they know keeps the people under control more, religion. While they are busy arguing among themselves, they won't have a chance to actually check the substance of what they are actually fighting over until it is done, like what it is right now. But fair enough, when David Undenyi, who has been doing the Lord's work, by the way, you know, David Undenyi fed us with enough details about Tinubu's drug dealing, including his associates. You know what his lawyer said when this was presented at their tribunal? Tinubu's lawyer said, it was questioning a witness. And while questioning that witness, Ironekpekun said, would the witness be happy if he is being harassed like PDP and Labour Party and everybody is harassing Tinubu right now for all this drug, forfeiture of money and this and that? Ironekpekun was asking the witness in court that the witness will be happy if somebody is harassing him with all this allegation. You know what the witness told him? The witness said, well, I was never involved in drug dealing, and I've never been involved in trafficking money for drug dealers, and I never forfeited 460,000 US dollars to avoid jail. So I wouldn't know if this is an harassment, because legally, this is not an harassment. It is that you did this, you did that. Own it, stand up to it. Yes, I did it. So on the other hand, you know what they said? Okay, fine. The case they are talking about, Ironekpekun told the tribunal that the case they are talking about of this drug dealing and all of that is over 10 years old. And because it's over 10 years, it shouldn't be any issue. All these people are just trying to, even if he did it, okay, fine, he did it. At a point, Ironekpekun said the case in the US court wasn't against Tinubu. The case of the drug trafficking in America, the case was against Tinubu's bank account. And all the nonsense they fed there, even though they are telling their Lagos Abobaku, the illiterate Agberos, right, that are following them, they are telling them that no evidence was presented in the tribunal. Nothing was. The case was watery. But this were the case. This were the issue. So, Tinubu that has this compromise hanging on his head. We don't know the deal he's making with France. We don't know what the French government is promising him or promising Nigeria. They said he should go and attack Niger Republic. He wanted to fight America, France, Russia, proxy war in West Africa. So people were like, something needs to be done now. So just before now, you know the newspaper, what the newspaper is saying in France about Kolu. I'll show you. Okay, over this Niger Republic issue, there is more. International media are now digging even more into this mysterious man, this Guinea, somebody where nobody knows his father, nobody knows his age, nobody knows, you know what I mean? Like, this guy is a mystery, right? So in France, their newspaper, one of their top newspaper, published this. Bola Tinubu's credibility will depend on what he can do in Niger Republic, by leading ECOWAS to go and fight in Niger. So we don't know what Tinubu has with France, because the issue in Niger Republic does not warrant war that Kolu declared. So I think this has now has made other people all over the world to start digging into who is this guy? What could France have on him? Like, like everybody's shocked. Some other people in Africa were wondering, like, what the hell? How could ECOWAS even make somebody, their chairman or whatever, that person who is still fighting legitimacy, that the whole Africa knows that he rigged the election, he didn't win election in Nigeria. See, if you are looking at people and saying that, hey, you go cry and cry and cry, as you go be it, see, it is not even just about him being the president now. It is the fact that the entire Africa knows that he didn't win election. You know, that one is different from those who are in Nigeria, or Nigerians who knows that he didn't win. Oh, you can call those ones sore losers. So, they are just sore losers. The election was the freest and fairest. You are telling yourselves that, Abi? Fine, fine. But that is not how the rest of Africa sees it. Okay? And these are not Nigerians. So to them, they are wondering, how could ECOWAS make somebody who still has a case, legitimacy case in court, be their chairman, and within 2 months, so within a month after being their chairman, he has declared war on one of the sovereign states. So you get? So they are wondering, that's the same with the rest of the world. Who is this guy? Like, what the hell is going on? Except for the Lagos Abobaku Soshogbo Alimajiris. I mean, they saw your campaign. They knew about the Bulaba. Town hall is different from Bulaba, Bala Blue, Blue. They saw all of that. They are mocking you. They are not seeing Tinubu as president of Nigeria. Fine. Obedient, I've said they are not seeing him. So you can call them any names and all of that, okay? They are those who rejected Tinubu and they continue to. Okay? Fine. And they don't see him as any president at all. Okay? But the rest of Africa don't see him as president as well. Like the ordinary people, not all these their elite criminal politicians, or normal people. And that's an issue. Somebody without legitimacy want to lead the country to war over another lead Nigeria to war in another country because of legitimacy issue. Military no get legitimacy. So, therefore, the illegitimate INEC president of Nigeria will do the job. See, I'm going to read some certain things now, okay? This is a new report. And, you know, when Oyibo do their own kind of thing, sometimes they pick all the pieces from everywhere. And just like we do on Mayegun's Diary Politico, they are coming to arrive at what we already know. And what this simply means is that, facts are facts. Lies are lies. You can make up 1 million lies to cover 1 million lies. But you can never use 1 billion or whatever lies to cover the truth. Facts will always be facts. So, may I first state some of these facts before I read this to you. Okay? Number one, we don't know who Tinubu is until he declared that he wanted to be president. The rest of the world didn't really know him. Sure, you get? And when I say didn't really know him, it simply means that they didn't really dig into him. But the moment he declared that he wanted to be president of Nigeria, that got the attention of the world. Who is this guy? Including some of you too. A lot of the things you are coming to know now about Tinubu, some of them are sounding like they are coming from his enemies. People who don't like him. Blah, 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 that you are telling yourself. All right? But a lot of things you are hearing right now, you probably didn't know them about Tinubu until now. Now, the situation there is that when you have somebody like that as your leader, okay, it is like having cancer. Here you get. So when you have cancer, it starts from somewhere until it affects everything on you. Your organ, internal, external, everything. Here you get. Because the moment you have it, once it weakens your immune system and it gets to that, somehow, at that point, everything else will go to affect you. Now everything else will go to come in. That's exactly what Tinubu is. So Tinubu is like a cancer that until now, it was like a normal tumor. You see all these criminals, you know, conglomeration of criminals. That's what Nigeria is for these guys. The bad reputation that Nigeria has all over the world. These are the characters that brought it upon Nigeria. But they are there. They exist in different location, region, states, you know that in Nigeria. So the moment it goes national, it began attracting all other ailments, sicknesses, diabetes, COVID, blindness, cripple, and all those things. They started coming. And they are going to be coming like that. And you know the host. The host is Nigeria. Now, when all those things start affecting and all that, including the compromat, and they're going to be doing a lot of things through compromat. Compromat is the secret they have on name that we can, I mean, you know, we can throw you to the dogs anytime from now. So what Tinubu has done is that Tinubu has become that boy that is part of the pain of Nigeria, especially since you started this, your demonstration of grace, Abi. So that boy, Ewo, instead of the boy to open and heal, it has now turned to a tumor. That tumor is a cancer tumor now, where despite what Nigeria is facing, Tinubu is not begging the rest of the world to come and help Nigeria end terrorism so that farmers can go back to their farms, so that Nigerians can grow their own food. This inflation, starvation, poverty, at least there can be a process where you can say it is now a rebuilding process. Every money you can get from everywhere. Nigeria is spending over 4 trillion naira on defense every year. It is skyrocketing. The more Nigeria spend on defense, the worse the insecurity gets. So what should be your paramount interest? If nobody says somebody gets your, what did they call them? Your nude picture. You know, say if you get my nude picture right now, if you tell me, say, Mayegun, oh yeah, hey, Ogbeni Mayegun, turn off that camera. Ito all the nonsense you are talking, oh yeah, stop, turn off the camera. If I see your message, I say, God damn it, now that's the guy who has my nude picture. Ladies and gentlemen, something came up. I need to go now. I'll see you later. I don't run away. They say, who be this person where they control Mayegun? I be the person getting Mayegun's nude picture. I be the person catch Mayegun where Mayegun they do something. They say, if the word here, now tear they go tear am. You go begin to observe. That's exactly what a compromat is. Oh yeah, Mayegun. Oh yeah. Hello, Mayegun. I say, okay, yeah, who is this? I want you to just stand there. Don't say anything. I want people to be asking, what is wrong with you? And I'm just like, see, please, you know, I'm very busy. You know, people are watching now. And then they'll be like, I said, stop talking. That's compromise. That's exactly what we don't know they have. We do know, but we just don't know how strong it is, or even more worse things that we don't even know. Yeah, we know what we know. What about the things we don't know about Tinubu? Somebody said that they wrote American, they challenged the FBI in America, okay? That they want the criminal record of Tinubu, yeah? And they want them to unseal the criminal record of Tinubu. All of this is behind the scene. And when the FBI will respond, this is their response. You know? So, no, yeah. And they were more or less like, we cannot really do much because it's of nothing much anyway. So they have to withdraw. And that's what they make here. That is what they are currently using as headline in Nigeria, that Tinubu defeated Atiku in American courts. That's not what happened. Since the request being made from FBI is taking too long, and it's already the case, the matter of jurisdiction or adjudication, whatever they call them, in the presidential election tribunal. So it doesn't, I mean, they don't need them anymore. So what I'm saying is that, who is this guy? Somebody said it could be a CIA asset. Okay? We have had a situation whereby Tinubu was quoted in one of those, what be this guy name again? Oh, WikiLeaks. You remember WikiLeaks? What's that guy's name again? How did that fly off my head like that? Anyway, you tell me his name. You shall know WikiLeaks. At a point, Tinubu, American ambassador to Nigeria, and one or two other people, they were being interviewed. And in that conversation they had inside the American embassy, where Tinubu was giving names, he was giving, he was mentioning people, mentioning events and what they are planning to do and the rest of that. God bless you, Edward Snowden. I think it's Snowden at the time. It's not Julian. Julian Assange is WikiLeaks. I think it's Julian Assange. That's the person we are looking for. Where Tinubu was giving intel about other politicians, including the military. They were in this Nadeco thing at the time too. Who is Tinubu? We don't know. That's why I'm going to give you this report. It's a collection of others. So this one came from some, what do we call them? We call them, it doesn't really matter, but they have names. So take a look at this. Said from Cheetown bagman to ECOWAS chairman, meet the former money launderer leading the push to invade Niger. Alexandra Robinstein, and then Kate Clarenberg, or Clarenberg, whatever. So I go to read them in part until I get to that is, that is money laundering, heroin trafficking, and it's going to be for the record. So thank you so much to all of you who have actually really joined right now. The copy of this is on a website called The Grey Zone. So, Madi read, for those who probably would rather just listen. And you too can read on the screen too. Since the overthrow of Niger's US-friendly government, West African nations of the ECOWAS bloc have threatened an invasion of their neighbor. Before leading the charge for intervention, ECOWAS chair Bola Tinubu spent years laundering millions for heroin dealers in Chicago and has since been ensnared in numerous corruption scandals. Hours after Niger's Western-backed leader was detained by the country's presidential guard on July 28th, Nigerian president and chair of the ECOWAS, Bola Tinubu, leapt into action, warning that the group of nations will not tolerate any situation that incapacitates the democratically elected government. As the chairperson of ECOWAS, I state without equivocation that Nigeria stands firmly with the elected government in Niger. So these are the first start, yeah? 2 days later, ECOWAS imposed severe sanctions on Niger, and the bloc issued a stark ultimatum. If the newly inaugurated junta won't reinstall the ousted president in a week's time, the group's pro-West African government will, by military means, if necessary. Right. Now, let's leave Niger a little bit. You know the whole story and that. We'll go to this. Bola Tinubu's career marred by drug trafficking. That's Nigeria president. All of now, where they try, they tell us that we should say good things about Nigeria. Is this the good thing we are going to be saying about Nigeria? You think the whole world don't know? Millions, tens, if not hundreds of millions of people around the world knows who Kolu is. And content like this, for posterity's sake, so that when your children say were you alive then when this happened, you will be able to tell them you are one of those who stood against it. Even if it's a man from your tribe. Yes. Especially when it's a man from your tribe. Because this is it. Bola Tinubu, heroin trafficker, money launderer, the president of Nigeria, and they're going to say he's a Yoruba man. It is ideal for the real Yorubas who are real Omoluwabis, hardworking Yorubas. I'm talking about those of you who actually earn everything you own today. You didn't steal them. You didn't manipulate people. You didn't chance anybody. You worked hard to make your names. So somebody like this shouldn't be an example of who Yorubas are. And that is why, especially because you are Yoruba, you must be able to face your children and say, well, yeah, I stood up against that time. And be proud that you are doing so. Now, take a listen or read with me. Okay? So, for over 30 years, Bola Tinubu has been a major force in Nigeria's political scene. Give me a circle so that I don't go just be me. Okay, we'll share them like this. It's this tiny screen, Abby. So we'll do a math, just like that. Right. And the country's economy, with local nicknames ranging from the mother of the market, Iyaloja, to the godfather of Lagos and the lion of Bodilon. But his power inside Nigeria went largely unnoticed by international audience until 2023, when he became ECOWAS chair after winning the presidency in an election closely tracked by the US government. As president, Tinubu quickly instituted a regime of economic reforms backed by the US-controlled International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. Over the course of Tinubu's political career in Nigeria, the African operator has cultivated a close relationship with the US Embassy. According to a slew of classified State Department cables released by WikiLeaks, American officials relied heavily on Tinubu's assessment of the domestic political landscape. Share and follow. Una dey follow? Okay. Maybe say that one new. Right. So, the ECOWAS chair's early life is shrouded in mystery, and even his exact age is unknown. Nearly every detail of Tinubu's personal history prior to his appearance in Chicago on a student visa is in dispute, including his legal birth name. Records from Chicago State University show that Tinubu received a degree in business administration in 1979. In the following years, media reports indicate that Tinubu was employed in some capacity at a number of major US-based multinationals, including Mobil Oil Nigeria, consulting firm Deloitte, and GTE, which was the largest communication and utilities company in the US at the time. Of the few details about the Nigerian president's early exploit, which can be confirmed, many are derived from a 1993 court docket naming Tinubu as an accomplice in a massive Midwestern drug smuggling operation. As journalist, David Udeyin was even kind of referenced, which is great. Court document from the U.S. District Court, Northern District of Illinois, made it clear that Tinubu amassed a small fortune laundering money for a heroin trafficking relative in Chicago, and that U.S. government officials ultimately seized well over $1 million from various bank accounts registered under the current Nigeria president's name. In 1993 reports by IRS Special Agent Kevin Moss explained that there is probable cause to believe that funds in certain bank accounts controlled by Bola Tinubu represent proceeds of drug trafficking. Therefore, these funds are forfeitable to the United States. In the document, Musk described an extremely close working relationship between the future Nigeria president and two Nigerian heroin dealers named Abiodun Olashuyi Agbele and Adegboyega Muiz Akande, the latter of whom was listed as Tinubu's cousin on an application for a vehicle loan. According to bank employees, when Bola Tinubu came to First Heritage Bank in December 1989 to open the accounts, he was introduced to them by Adegboyega Muiz Akande, who at that time maintained an account at the bank. What's more, bank record indicates that Bola Tinubu also opened a joint checking account in his name and the name of his wife, Oluremi Tinubu, who had previously opened a joint bank account also at this bank with Hodri Akande, the wife of Adegboyega Muiz Akande. Musk explained. In several of the applications, the addresses used by Tinubu exactly matched those previously used by Akande, which is in part on your screen anyway, right? And according to bank records, Tinubu opened an individual money market account and a now account at First Heritage Bank in December 1989. The special agent noted in the application, Tinubu stated that his address was 7504 South Stewart, Chicago, Illinois, the same address used previously by Akande, right? Now, going on and on to, well, as the investigation into the money laundering scheme began to gain traction, Tinubu left the US and returned to Nigeria. Ultimately, Musk was able to speak to Tinubu by telephone on a number of occasions, and the special agent reported that the future president initially acknowledged his personal and financial dealings with the pair of drug traffickers. But in late January 1992, Tinubu advised agents investigating this matter that he had no business association or financial relationship with Agbele or Akande. So this information contradicted his prior statement on January 13, 1992, when he advised law enforcement officers that the money used to open the account at First Heritage Bank and had come from Akande, rather. So back in Nigeria, Tinubu had already begun to transition into the political arena. By 1992, he had been elected to the Senate, and in 1999, he became the governor of Lagos State, a position he retained until 2007. At some point in his tenure, Tinubu established a relationship with the US Embassy, which would last for years to come. So do you now understand why America is not forthcoming when it comes to Tinubu's life in America? If Tinubu actually was using the name of a girl called Bola Tinubu, the daughter of a Gafaru Tinubu, the man who happened to be a senior brother to Abibatu Mogaji, the woman that adopted Shongolere Atonda, which later changed to Bola Tinubu. Now let me give you that phrase again, okay? Tinubu, the reason why America is not releasing the details of him, especially that questionable one, that Bola Tinubu that went to Chicago State, Western University in Chicago, or Western College in Chicago, that turned to Chicago University today, that person who actually got the admission into that university was a girl. The application showed that it was a female, not a male, right? And they said that name, if you now track it very down, very, very, you will hear that Tinubu, that's not his real name. It was adopted by a woman. That woman's name is Abibatu Mogaji. All right, that's not his original mother. We don't know his mother. We don't know his father. So Abibatu Mogaji adopted him, changed his name. And that Bola Tinubu appeared in America with a past student visa, Nigeria passport. And the record in that university showed that he was a female. Meanwhile, that Abibatu Mogaji had a brother whose name was Gafaru Tinubu. Now, Gafaru Tinubu happened to be, also had a daughter who died. Her name was Bola Tinubu. Do you understand? So, Tinubu became their friend or their mole that was giving America the political landscape of Nigeria. What is going on? Who is the good person? Who is bad? Who should be friend? Who shouldn't? Behind the scene. And that relationship lasted up to today. Okay? So maybe that makes sense. It doesn't make it. Okay, well, it's all right. Let's continue. Now, okay, let me go back to WikiLeaks. Okay? So back in Nigeria, blah, 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 de blah, U.S. Embassy friend for years, according to a trove of diplomatic cables released by WikiLeaks. You know, I told you that at a point, some of the cables that they were sending back to America, you know, they have to feed their country back when they speak to all these people. You know that? Okay. So in one of those things they are feeding back, Tinubu featured in some of these WikiLeaks. You go online, go and search for Tinubu WikiLeaks right now. Use your other device right now. Go and search for Tinubu WikiLeaks on Google. You will see all of this waiting Tinubu said about who in Nigeria to the American ambassador at the time. So this information is very correct, okay? But let's continue. So, but even his State Department allies couldn't help noticing Tinubu's penchant for dishonesty. One particularly noteworthy cable pointed out that the politician was known to play fast and loose with the facts and has been caught in the past embellishing his educational achievements. So America knows him very well. Right, let's go on. In the end, however, Tinubu's usefulness seemed to outweigh his casual relationship with the truth. And the future Nigeria president went on to provide American officials with a near continuous assessment of the political situation in his country. One typical intimate meeting with Tinubu ended with the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria commenting, as always, we found his take on the national political scene to be insightful. When the cables came to light in 2011, many Nigerians were shocked at the candor with which their elected officials spoke to Washington's envoys. Like they speak to all these ambassadors loosely. They talk so, if you hear waiting there, they talk about themselves, politicians in Nigeria. And when WikiLeaks released all of those cables back then, what they are saying about themselves, about military, about this, about that, you will know that you have shameless criminals as your leaders in Nigeria. And that is why I have no respect for them. Even if you want to, if you like, jump from a 10-story building, knock your head on the floor, I have no respect for them. You see all those free talk. Say you don't get respect, Tini. Don't you have elders at home? Ni? Don't you have Kinikoni? Why do you like lack home training? Show some respect. I have no respect for them because I have an idea of who they are, not who they say they are. These are a regular bunch of hustlers, criminals with power and money. And look at the mess they have made. Look at what they've made of it. Emi only respect for they can be as old as Methuselah. They are not people you should be respected. Even if your culture and tradition says you have to respect elders, these ones are criminals that grows old. You know, these are rogues, criminals, career hustlers from northern Nigeria to eastern Nigeria to western Nigeria, all over the place. They are not leaders, they are dealers. Unfortunately, a lot of you love them like that. Unfortunately. But we will continue. So they said when the cable came to light, many Nigerians were shocked at the candor with which their elected officials spoke to Washington's envoys. The willingness of our elite to divulge unsolicited information about the nation to US officials betrays an infantile thirst for a paternal dictatorship. Nigerian American professors and columnist Farouk Perogi, you know Perogi. But let's continue. Though Tinubu appeared to have escaped justice for his alleged role in a heroin trafficking conspiracy, accusations of corruptions would continue to dog the ECOWAS chair throughout his political career in Nigeria. Since leaving office as governor of Lagos in 2007, Tinubu picked every subsequent winning candidate. According to German broadcaster DW, which noted earlier this year that the tycoon is believed to be one of Nigeria's richest politicians, but the source of his wealth is unknown. Of course, you know the source of his wealth. Lagos State is family, sort of a family piggy bank. Why are you saying you don't know the source of his wealth? They are looting Lagos. He's the one collecting tax for Lagos State, and he's collecting his 30% from it. Lagos State, the biggest economy in the whole of Africa. Put it that way, because it's so big. This guy is collecting 20% on the tax, and it's whatever they declare as the tax is what they declare. Why are you saying you don't know his source of wealth unknown? He's been looting. They legalized it. So it looks normal. He should be in jail, of course, but he's not. So in recent years, clues about the origins of the fortune amassed by one of Africa's leading political players have begun to come to light. He made money from drug dealing too. In 2009, Tinubu came under investigation by the Metropolitan Police of London, who were probing allegations that the politician had pooled money with two other Nigerian governors to create a front company known as the African Development Fund Incorporation. Investigators alleged the unusual business arrangement was actually a joint effort to illegally acquire shares of Econet, a telecommunication firm founded by US intelligence assets, and Gates Foundation trustee Strive Masiyiwa. But attempts to probe the legitimacy of the transactions in question were sidelined when the Nigerian federal government stonewalled the British investigation, which ultimately concluded without a single arrest. To this day, Nigerian authorities have yet to release the evidence requested by UK authorities. This was before Tinubu became president. Now he's the president. Since 2009, he would have probably been arrested and jailed here in the UK like Ibori. But who was in government in Nigeria in 2009? Goodluck Egbere Jonathan. I'll give you one quick story. When Jonathan needed to contest again in 2011, sorry, I take that back. The person in government of Nigeria in 2009 was Yar'Adua, PDP. Sure you get? So, it was Yar'Adua who stonewalled them. Now, when Jonathan came in 2010, after the death of Yar'Adua, Jonathan was not interested in any probe of anybody. He just wanted to win election properly. The northern Nigerians were threatening him then that, no, it was their turn. It was the same Tinubu that came to his rescue in 2011. And that coming to the rescue of Jonathan in 2011 was the first time that Tinubu believed that he could be president of Nigeria. When he was flown to Abuja with that same presidential jet of Jonathan, then they flew Tinubu to Abuja. a deal of $2 billion for that 2011 election was struck. And having that conversation was the first time that Tinubu will sit inside the asshole rock and trying to save the man that was living there at the time, Jonathan. He saw him up close. That was the moment he knew that he could be president. And in fact, if the journey is going to go zigzag before that happens, he will do it. And that was the moment he went back to go and make that deal with the northern Nigeria that formed APC. The rest is history, oh. Here you get. But in 2009, if to say Nigeria responded at the time, Kolu, it won't be this American drug trafficking alone, no. Here you get. It would have been this too. But unfortunately, they didn't. And nobody was arrested. In one of those things, it in fact emboldened Tinubu. Yeah? That one of the properties of those who looted Nigeria and they came to UK to buy properties here. One of those properties under investigation, EFCC. The person who stole that was on the run. Tinubu ended up buying the property from those who stole it. And Nigerian government under Buhari, they just look away. We're going to get to that part. Give me 1 second, though. Yep. So investigators alleged the unusual business arrangement was actually, okay, I think we've passed that. So in 2011, in fact, it was Jonathan. So in 2011, Tinubu was tried before the Code of Conduct Tribunal in Nigeria for illegally operating 16 foreign bank accounts. Eager to avoid the embarrassment he had previously suffered when being photographed in court, the ECOWAS chair reportedly refused to take his place at the dock in a judicial hearing. But the unwelcome attention appears to have done little to rein in the politician's extravagant taste. And Tinubu once again found himself embroiled in a corruption scandal following an investigation into the luxurious 7,000 square foot mansion where the Nigerian president stays when receiving medical care in London. You see this house? This house was under investigation for corruption. Tinubu bought the house. And you see, he bought the place. Now that is the place where even he hosted Buhari in the place as well. At a point, he hosted Buhari, the president who is fighting corruption in Nigeria. Okay? But we'll go a little bit forward from their own update. So according to the Nigerian outlets, Premium Times, the massive villa in London's exclusive Westminster Borough, or Bureau, in London, Borough, anyway, was picked up for a song by Tinubu's son, who somehow managed to purchase the property at a discount of approximately $10 million from a wealthy fugitive. Even though the seller's asset, including the mansion in question, had been frozen by a Nigerian court. Photos published on social media in 2017 show Tinubu posing inside the villa alongside Nigeria's president at the time, Muhammadu Buhari. So the current and previous president worked closely for decades. So yeah. And Tinubu has publicly claimed sole credit for Buhari's presidency, why blah, blah, blah. But now let's go forward. The ECOWAS as a neo-colonial weapon. While ECOWAS was officially founded via the Treaty of Lagos in 1975, its official history notes the bloc's origin dates back to the creation of the CFA franc in 1945, which consolidated France's West African empire into a single currency union. Publicly, the move was described as a benevolent attempt to shield these colonies from the consequences of the French franc's sharp devaluation in 1945. Following the creation of the US-dominated Bretton Woods system, so as the French finance minister said at the time, in a show of our generosity and selflessness, metropolitan France, wishing not to impose on our faraway daughters the consequences of our own poverty, is setting different exchange rates for their currency. In reality, the introduction of the CFA franc, that is the franco, meant that Paris was able to maintain highly unequal trading relationships with its African colonies. At a time when its economy was ravaged by World War II and its overseas empire was rapidly disintegrating. So the currency made it cheap for member states to import from France and vice versa, but prohibitively expensive for them to export anything elsewhere or anything anywhere else. This forced dependency on Francophone West Africa created a captive market for the French and by extension, the rest of Europe. That dynamic, which has stunted regional economic development for decades, persists to this day. The CFA franc's continued dominance ensures West African states remain under the economic and political control of France. Those African nations are powerless to enact meaningful policy changes as they lack control over their own monetary policy. That the currency features so prominently in the authorized history of ECOWAS is instructive, because the bloc has long been criticized as an extension of French French imperialism. It was not for nothing that in 1960, then French President Charles de Gaulle made membership of the CFA franc a precondition for decolonization of Africa. Though ECOWAS is theoretically meant to maximize member states' collective bargaining power by fostering interstate economic and political cooperation, such harmonization makes it easier for former imperial power like France to exploit and enfeeble their constituent countries. The bloc imposes a strict Western-approved legal and financial framework upon its members, and any state deviating from these rules is harshly punished. Are you following, guys? Okay. In January 2022, ECOWAS imposed strict sanctions on Mali, prompting thousands to take to the streets in support of the military government that seized power in January the previous year. The new government's efforts to purge the country of malign foreign influence saw a complete ban on French media imposed, a decision which was slammed by the United Nations, but shared by average Malians. ECOWAS applied similar measures to Burkina Faso in response to a September 2022 military coup, which saw Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba removed after just 8 months in power. Though Damiba himself seized via military coup, there was little condemnation from Western officials and few suggestions that ECOWAS impose sanctions, perhaps due to the ousted leaders' pro-Western orientation and status as a graduate of multiple elite U.S. military and State Department training courses. Since 1990, ECOWAS has waged 7 separate conflicts in West Africa in order to protect the West's preferred despots across the region. Meanwhile, between 1960 and 2020, Paris launched 50 separate overt interventions in Africa. Figures for clandestine activities conducted during this time are unavailable, but the country's fingerprints are plastered all over multiple rigged elections, coups, and assassinations that have sustained compliant, corrupt governments in power throughout the continent. As President Jacques Chirac remarked in 2008, without Africa,